of the photon belt. Some scholars are saying that in the years leading up to 2012, we're going to have what is known as photonic energy. This is the planet Earth being washed in photonic energy. Photonic energy is the highest form of light that is known physically. We all know about light. Well, the highest form of light that can manifest physically is photonic. Photonics is discharged from the movement of the electron on an atomic level. And there is purported to be a large belt of photonic energy that every period, a certain age will come in which the whole, not just the planet, but the whole solar system will pass through, almost like a car wash. The whole solar system moving through a high radiation band of photonic energy. And if this is the case, this could be one of the reasons it's precipitating the acceleration, the speed, the need of the progeny of the Atlanteans to vacate the planet. Because photonic energy has certain principles. From Barbara Hahn Clow's book, The Pleiadian Agenda, we find that Robert Stanley, who reported on the discovery of the photon band by satellites in 1991, and he commented, "These excesses of photons are being emitted from the center of our galaxy. Our solar system enters the area of our galaxy every 11,000 years and then passes through for 2,000 years while completing its 26,000 year galactic orbit." Noel Huntley, in his book The Photon Belt Encounter, says, "By means of satellite instrumentation, astronomers in 1961 discovered what appeared to be an unusual nebula. We normally understand the nebula phenomena as a vast cloud-like mass of gas or dust. This one, however, appeared to have anomalous properties and was named the Golden Nebula. The public's attention was not drawn to this unusual revelation until much later, presumably when it was realized that this nebula's location was coincident with the projected orbit of our solar system. Around the early 1980s, a radio announcement in the US was made that our solar system was, in fact, going to collide with an electromagnetic cloud in the not too distant future. Now, the photon effect is caused by the precession of our solar system and its accompanying planets around the central sun called Alcyon, located in the constellation of the Pleiades. This counter-clockwise cyclic precession around Alcyon requires about 25,860 years to make one complete orbit. Our present-day sun, moon, and planets must twice pass through the photon belt during this time. That is, once to the north and once to the south. During this cycle, there are 2 periods of darkness and 2 periods of light. The periods of darkness, which constitute the vast majority of the rotation around the central sun, consist of 2 periods of about 10,500 years. Following each period of 10,500 years of darkness, then we emerge into 2,000 years of total light, which actually constitutes the photon belt. Simply put, we have a cycle lasting about 26,000 years. And for most of this cycle, we're, as we are now, in a period of darkness. And then for about 2,000 years on each side, because of course of any circle, there is the 12 o'clock position and the 6 o'clock position, the north and the south nodes. And at each of these nodes of the cycle, the solar system will pass through for 2,000 years the photonic energy band. Now, of course, one can get into all sorts of criticisms and arguments regarding this concept. I, for one, am a little skeptical, not about the fact there's a photon belt, but that the fact that there's such a thing as static, repeated cycles. This is, again, part of the old Newtonian closed universe mindset. Perhaps there is a photon action, and perhaps there are these cycles, but perhaps they're based more on a Fibonacci series, like all organic things in the universe are based on the Fibonacci series. So perhaps to talk about fixed cycles that repeat ad infinitum down through the generations is perhaps not so accurate or true. But these are points that should be left aside for now. Now, the photon belt was discovered, as we said, in 1961 by satellite-borne instruments. It comes around every 10,000 years and lasts for 2,000 years. Earth is thought to have entered the outer perimeter in 1962. But again, that's open to speculation. Different authors say different things. However, if the Earth and the solar system was to approach or enter into the photonic energy, our sun's radiation would be dramatically altered. The electrons would be affected, and they will generate photonic radiation. So whether we're entering a belt of radiation or whether some other activity or movement or dynamic affects the electrons within our planet, within our atmosphere, within the atomic frequency, then there's photonic energy released. I mean, there's a speculation on exactly how these photonic particles will start to act and operate. And if the sun enters the belt first, it will disappear, and we on the planet Earth will be left in total darkness for a while. If the Earth moves in first, then the mythologies of the world say that the entire sky will appear to be on fire, and we hear this concept in mythology and in the legends. Now, all things, once this photonic energy starts, all things will emit light and phosphorescence, and darkness will simply not exist. There'll be an effulgence. I mean, you can't have all the atomic energy, the atomic particles releasing photonic energy, and nothing will happen. Claiming your hands, your body, the trees, you know, the very rocks, all the particles will start to emit this effulgence. And of course, those who understand the metaphysical principles of light, this matters greatly. Because light is not just something that helps you see. It's not just a sensual thing. Light is very much connected spiritually and in the mythologies and in the religious canon to development, spiritual enlightenment, purity, sanctity. So is this what the Bible and the mythologies were talking about? That as our planet moves through photonic energy, there's also an enlightening process that goes on. Well, if that's the case, I would have a question. Every time that we turn a bright light on us, the dirt tends to shine up more. We tend to see the dirt more clearly. So is this what the children of the Nephilim and the immoral ones, the ones who've steeped our world in a sea of blood, are worrying about? The individuals whose constitution, whose psyche is vile and immoral and criminal and unjust? Is that what is precipitating these end days? Is that what the Maya calendar perhaps is talking about and warning us? That the coming of this photonic light is literally like the roach cleaner on his way. The car is going through the car wash. Then what? Is this the spin-dry cycle for the earth? All things organic, knowing how to clean themselves. Everything in our life we cleanse. Well, does the planet have its own clean cycle? There's also talk that the codons within the DNA will upgrade from 22 codons to the 64. So the DNA, there'll be changes within the biology and the DNA and also the consciousness. And the spiritual people who've researched yoga and the subtle body understand that we have what's called a light body. And that light body is also connected to radiation and to the photonic radiation. And Deepak Chopra says it this way: photons come out of nowhere. They cannot be stored, they can barely be pinned down in time, and they have no home in space whatsoever. That is, light occupies no volume and has no mass. The similarity between a thought and a photon is very deep. Both are born in the region beyond space and time where nature controls all processes that in that void, which is full of creative intelligence. The massive cycle that we're talking about of 25,000 years and so has often been termed the Leviathan cycle, and again is symbolized strangely by a dragon or a reptile or a fish encircling the earth. Cycles were often shown this way, in figurative ways, by the ancients, of a large coiling encircling dragon or a band. Virgil Armstrong says that following each period of 10,500 years of darkness, and he's talking more here about spiritual darkness again, we then emerge into 2,000 years of total light, which actually constitutes the photon belt. We then have 21,860 years of darkness and 4,000 years of light if you take it together. Another way of viewing this phenomena is that in one complete orbit we have 5/6 darkness and approximately 1/6 light, or a 5-to-1 ratio, with darkness being predominant. Surprisingly enough, we are now once again emerging from the 10,000 plus years of darkness and preparing to emerge into 2,000 years of light, which will begin to experience that in around the year 2000, he says. But what I want to draw attention to right here is this whole idea of the 5-to-1. It's very important to understand that the pentagram is in a way a cryptic symbol for that. And we've been talking a lot about the symbol of the pentagram and how it's used on many mega corporations and military establishments and on flags and on symbols. And that, of course, represents the 5 around the 1, which is being used in magic. Now, another important cycle here, as an alternative theory to the photonic energy, or perhaps a compatible one, is the idea in 2012 that the sun aligns with what is known as the galactic central point. The galactic central point, or the center of the galaxy, is very, very important not only to astronomers but to the ancients. Again, I have to stress how important these cosmological events and phenomena were to ancient man. And of course we hear about astrology and different conjunctions and different aspects. We have the 12 signs of the zodiac. But in the sign of the zodiac known as Sagittarius, close to Capricorn, close to the winter solstice, is galactic center. The pole of the Earth literally facing galactic center. It's one of the original reasons why Sagittarius was shown as an archer. Why is he holding that bow and where's that arrow facing? The sign of Sagittarius and the archer and his bow and his arrow was meant to face what we know as galactic center. Those who've studied the occult history of astrology and astrotheology will know what this means. Safe it is to say that galactic center runs through the constellation that we know as Sagittarius. And of course, being the background of the night stars, the planets and the stars are seen to move, especially the planets, are seen to move in front of the backdrop of the night sky. And around December 21st, 2012, the sun itself on the December 21st, which is of course the solstice, is meant to rise. And when it rises, when we first start to see it in the morning, it will be back off galactic center. Now this is what is called an alignment, a planetary alignment. And this is considered of supreme importance, this particular alignment. And many researchers are pointing to this, as opposed to the photon belt, to be a significant factor in the end days. And the Mayans, they knew all about it. According to Carlos Barrios in his Mayan calendar, The World Will Not End, he says, Maya day keepers viewed December 21st, 2012 as a rebirth. It will be the start of a new era resulting from and signified by the solar meridian crossing the galactic equator and the Earth aligning itself with the center of the galaxy. At sunrise on December 21st, 2012, for the first time in 26,000 years, the sun rises to conjunct the intersection of the Milky Way and the plane of the ecliptic. This cosmic cross is considered to be an embodiment of the sacred tree, the tree of life, a tree remembered in all the world's spiritual traditions. Some observers say this alignment with the heart of the galaxy in 2012 will open a channel for cosmic energy to flow through the Earth, cleansing it and all that dwells upon it, raising all to a higher level of vibration. So here again, the Maya talking about the constellational aspects and the idea of alignments involving the Earth and the Sun and the galactic center and the Milky Way. And we don't have time here to go into the symbolism of the Milky Way, especially from an Egyptian standpoint. It was of supreme importance, running as it does from Gemini all the way through the zodiac into Sagittarius. The river of the Pharaoh, that the Ra and Horus and their little boat would sail down the river Styx, which of course was just a symbol for the Milky Way, on their way to galactic center, the portal from our world, our dimension, into the spirit. Very important significance here. Now, John Major Jenkins, in his book Maya, Cosmogenesis, the Maya were aware of our solstice sun's impending alignment with galactic plane and galactic center, an astronomical alignment that occurs only once every 13,000 years. I have honestly documented my encounter with this idea and have gone deep into the academic literature to decode how this end date alignment scenario, what I call the galactic cosmology, was incorporated into basic Maya institutions such as the ball game, the king ascension rites, and the Maya creation myth. This amazing fact that ancient Mesoamerican sky watchers were able to pinpoint a winter solstice far off into the future has not been dealt with by Mayanists. And why did they choose the year 2012? One immediately gets the impression that there is a very strange mystery to be confronted here. Why did early Mesoamerican sky watchers pick a date some 2,300 years into the future? And in fact, how did they pinpoint an accurate winter solstice? With all these considerations, one begins to suspect that for some reason the ancient New World astronomers were tracking precession. So John Major Jenkins asks a bunch of questions here, the age-old questions about how did they know? They lived years ago. But wait a minute, he's dating the Maya from 2,300 years? That's just been shot to pieces recently when we've discovered that Their ancestors